Bigbmeetup, a community outreach initiative founded in 2018. And in April 2020, the pandemic brought about its virtual edition. It is inspired by the people of Qatar, both local and expatriate, and dedicated to my mother. It aims to inform, to educate, to inspire, and bring communities together. Today, we keep it locked to our YouTube channel as we play host to two famous voices of the airwaves of Qatar radio, QBS 97.5, right? Yeah. So
Correct.
let's lift the lid of Huda and Khaled. Ahlan wa sahlan, guys.
Ahlan, ahlan,
Uh,
ahlan.
Thanks for having us.
Um,
Big meetup.
it's such a pleasure to partake in one of your Big B meetups.
Thank you so much, Huda, and it's a pleasure to have you and Khaled, two wonderful human beings, actually, before even radio jockeys. I like the vibe, and you guys are very humble. Uh, as always, ladies first. Could we please start with Huda? Could you please introduce yourself?
Well, where do I begin? I'm an ordinary person doing an ordinary thing. I'm your good radio friend, Huda. We'll keep numbers aside. How old I am, I'll keep that to myself. Um, I'm a sister of four great siblings, a daughter of two great parents. I'm a radio host on QBS, and I've been with QBS Radio since 2006.
Wow, that's a long time, and it's a lovely year to be with QBS Radio. When did you join QBS in 2000? Which month was that?
To recall precisely, it was the 14th of July.
Wow, on Bastille Day. On French
Yes,
National Day.
I'll be
That's
completing my 15th year next month.
fantastic. That's nice. No wonder you speak so good French.
I owe it to my parents when we spent 5 years of some of my best childhood memories in Montreal. That's where I gained my French from.
Oh, beautiful city. Beautiful city. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll go back to some maple syrup a little later. Let's
Hmm.
introduce, yeah, let's get to know more about Khaled.
I mean, look, I've haven't been in radio as long as Huda has. She could tell you a lot about the evolution of QBS and how things have changed and what it was like being in the radio back then. I've been in QBS for 2 years, and before then, I've always been into media. So everything I've studied, my bachelor's in media, my master's in media, and then before this we've talked about the thesis that I did, which we can get to in a bit. But I've always been in media, but I've never known where exactly I'd be. And to be honest, like I never expected I would be in radio. I've had social media positions. I've worked in film sets. Um, my first experience with radio was QF radio, and I
Oh,
think back in yeah, it was maybe 10 years ago. I
yeah,
interned at
exactly.
QF
Yeah.
radio. That was my first internship, first experience in radio. So yeah, like who would have expected, 10 years later I'd be in QBS with Huda Walid, the legend.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've been listening to, Huda goes back 2006. Yeah, but I go back like way back to the early 80s. Now that doesn't mean I'm twice the age of Huda.
Long
Yeah,
time listener.
yeah, yeah. So my first tryst with QBS radio was, if I'm not mistaken, with Elias Chilawi and a wonderful British radio host called, we used to call her Auntie Lucy. I don't think y'all remember. I mean, y'all would not have even met her, but she used to have a lovely program for kids at the Ramada Hotel, which is now the Radisson Blue. I mean,
Yeah.
in those days, we used to have programs at the Ramada and the Center. That was the mall of Qatar, the only mall of Qatar, you know, in the 80s. And it was a small community, and QBS radio was a little family radio station. I remember that very well. And I used to dial in and call the radio to play a few of my favorite songs and dedicate them to my parents and my young brother and family and friends and stuff like that. So that's my recall with QBS. Uh, Now, I would like to ask you all if you all could recall a bit about when you all started your journey with the radio, and what are your what are your milestones, or what do you remember? And I'm going to go, of course, with Huda again, and then I'll
Later.
move to Khaled. And yeah, I mean, it's so nice to have two colleagues from the radio station on my program, and also the two people who actually interviewed me on your respective uh, episodes of your own shows. And I'm looking forward to actually having that chai or gahawa with Huda. That's what we had said last time. And I'm gonna pull Khalid also. So Huda, can you give us some of your milestones, and um, before I move into the next, before I dig in and dive into other questions, please elaborate on your 15 years, 16 years with the radio. But before you go there, I don't know if I can get your approval, but you did send me your bio data, and it said you were a teacher. Now that is the most wonderful person to be, because uh, uh, my mom was a teacher, and
Oh wow.
yeah, she was a teacher before she came to Doha. So her career metamorphosized into being a secretary. That this is 1979 and 1980. Yeah. So I think you've done the same. You changed from a teacher to a radio host, right? Or are you still a teacher?
The teaching part of my life taught me that teaching is not just bringing a book into a classroom with a group of students and delivering a piece of information to as many students as you can in a classroom. The teacher learns a lot from the students in the classroom. It's a job that I never expected to come my way. I was back in senior high, and I can recall it as if it were yesterday, sitting right in front of the English teacher. And, I used to be that nerd / naughty student in the class.
That's a nice.
And
That's a nice combination. Nerds.
Interesting.
and whenever I'd give, I can recall her name, Miss Lulua, I recall. And whenever I'd give her a hard time in the class, she'd say, Huda, one day when you become a teacher, you'll know how hard and tough of a job it is. And I'd go, what, me? Teacher? Never. Until the day came when I graduated, and by the time I came back to Doha and I pursued my degree in English literature back in 2002, roaming around looking for a job, and the first job I was offered was a teaching position.
Wow.
Yes, but tell you what, teaching is one of the most rewarding missions
It is.
a person can ever go through. You touch people's lives for a lifetime. You go through the backgrounds of these students. You build a sense of connection. You want to make sure that not only are you delivering a best piece of information for them to make use of in their future, but to build them as human beings.
True.
And it was the teaching job that led me to the radio position, actually.
And it exudes in your voice. Now it explains. Now I understand the voice of Huda on QBS radio. There's a lot of the teacher aspect going into it. Talking of teachers, we have a teacher all the way from Hamilton, Ontario here, Claire Rose. She is a teacher. She's one of our popular, she's always on the show. She tunes in. And then we have the president of the American Women's Association of Qatar, Elizabeth, tuning you in all the way from the US. She's on holidays there.
Awesome.
She's going to be a guest.
Saying hello to you all. Thank you so much.
Yeah, she's going to be a guest on the 4th of July episode.
Oh, nice. The American special.
Yeah. True. Huda, yeah, please continue. Yeah, with the if you want, with the teacher story, and then what are you doing on radio? Excuse Simba there. I know if you can hear him.
He seems excited about something.
He wants to be on give him another screen.
I brought him once on the show, for the Garangao show. I brought him on the show because there were kids on the Garangao show, and they had sent some gifts for my pet. So I had to bring him actually and show him on the program. It was nice actually, yeah, but not today. Yeah. So yes, Huda.
And so it was the teaching position that led me to being on the radio. I've always had a passion for microphones and public speech and sitting in front of my family members. And sometimes I put the stuffed toys and talk to them and pretend like I'm talking about something important, until I was a birthday wish away from becoming a radio host. One of my colleagues used to be a close friend of mine back then in 2006 as well. It was a lucky year, I guess. She had taken me out for lunch, and we had planned on watching a movie. And when it came to blowing the candle, she had asked me to say my wish out loud, and I said I just wanted to one day become a radio host. A few months later, I received a call from our former director back then, Mr. Nasser Bilal, the one whom I owe so much for giving me the grand opportunity.
Lovely.
And all of a few months later, July 14th, my name is there on a duty roster, and there I was, live on air for the first time, 11 a.m. as a newsreader. That's how it all started, leading to 15 years.
Wow. And your voice has become synonymous with Qatar radio. Although I don't really get up that early to listen to you early in the mornings, but whenever I do, you have a special show for wellness, if I'm not mistaken.
That was between 2014 and 2019. Actually, it went on for 5 years. That was healthy living. We focused on delivering pieces of information, the most important topics and golden tips to maintain people's health and wellness. I never declared being a doctor. It was light, full of information about health that people would benefit from on a daily basis or a weekly basis, let me say. It used to go on air on Mondays.
Yeah, but don't you do? I thought I heard you some weeks ago too.
What year was that?
Maybe,
wait, you're talking about medical POV, aren't you?
Perhaps, yeah, maybe, but because they're very, I was just talking to Khaled off air, and we were discussing even mental wellness, because it's so paramount right now, because that's something you cannot see. It's not like you got a cyst, or you got a bruise or something. It's internal bruises, which you will not see, and it's also taboo sometimes. I've had a lovely episode on mental wellness a couple of weeks ago, and I'm planning to make that more often. It went on for nearly 2 hours. My show is only for an hour, but that went for 2 hours. I had two wonderful Qatari female and male guests, and they spoke about their healing. Yeah.
That's really important that you're doing that, and you're giving a platform for people to discuss mental health issues, since, like you said, there's often a stigma in many places, but here in the Middle East, there's a stigma regarding mental health and
yeah. No, it's not actually, sorry, it is not just in Qatar, or in the Middle East. It's all over the world. That's what the clinical psychologist told us. And I was like, oh, really? Yeah. I've been to a shrink a couple of times, more than a couple of times. And I'm not ashamed to say it aloud, because it's your own healing that you need to do. What do you say?
Unless we discuss it out loud, such mental illnesses cannot be, we cannot have solutions to such mental illnesses unless we talk about them loud and clear.
Yeah, true. Well, I just want to repeat here, guys. We have Huda, Waleed, and Khaled on our Big B meetup today. They are very prominent radio voices of Qatar on state radio QBS. I'm so happy to put a face to the name, although this is not CNN or Al Jazeera, but hey, this is Big B Meetup, and I'm so happy to have Huda and Khaled here. And continuing with our program, I wanted to ask Khaled, how has the demographic changed in your viewpoint from social in the radio since social media's rise? Like in the 80s, there was a song "Video Killed the Radio Star." It was a popular pop song, but now I'd say social media has not really killed, but it is stabbing the radio. I mean, and even other forms of media, like in print and stuff like that. And my second part of that question, which also is for Huda, is how has the demographic changed since COVID has hit? Because I believe uh, it has helped radio because people have the time now because they're sitting at home, so they tune into the radio and of course social media. So please elaborate. What is your viewpoint here?
You want me to go first, or?
Yeah. You, it's your question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought Khaled would. Yeah.
Okay. I'm
Hala.
not. I'm not sure I would agree on, or we can explore that more. I don't know how if social media has affected radio negatively. I feel like, you know, I feel like radio is its own thing. It's unique.
Oh,
You know, I don't think radio will ever die out. You know, there's just something about turning on the radio and not having to scroll through your phone and pick music and just trusting the host, especially if it's a host you're used to listening to and you trust them and you feel like there's a relationship if you're like in the radio listening to a host, whether it's Huda or whoever. And so I think like radio is unique, you know, no matter what happens, because there's been a lot of debates about like, oh, this is going to kill the radio, or this is going to, or podcasting is going to kill the radio. And I think radio is a unique thing. Um, I don't see like I don't think social media has harmed the radio because I feel like a lot of radio stations have kind of utilized social media to reach out to people, maybe put a face to the radio hosts and create competitions and engage with people. Sometimes like there's some radio stations that I follow back in New Zealand, and sometimes they share like videos from within the studio, and you kind of connect with the person behind the mic. Um,
yeah.
so I mean that's generally my opinion. I feel like there's a space for everything, and I don't feel like you know one medium is harming or threatening the other. I feel like they all have their unique space.
Yeah, I love that answer. And I'm so sorry I got a bit distracted here because we have a lovely Qatari woman here, a lovely Qatari mother of three,
Mm.
Noura Al Aida. She's got a lovely message here. She says, QBS radio was my go to practice my English back in the late 90s. Love it. And I always tell my nieces and nephew, by the way, I graduated from university on English literature. So you're part of my success. Bravo, QBS, and bravo, Noura.
And that's how radio differs from any other platform.
100%.
Social media does play a powerful part, but it does not replace the habit of connecting to the radio because there's human presence. There's a sense, I second Khaled on the significance of a relationship that people build between the hosts and their listeners. You're talking generations. And the wonderful Nuda who's listening in, whom I'd like to say hi to, sets a perfect example of an answer to your question. She's been listening. It's a connection that she will never forget, and we owe it to everything that the entire QBS crew has been doing for generations. She's encouraging her nephews and nieces to listen, and it will go for generations, for the coming generations as well. So it's not only music and the latest trends and the top news. It also has to do with the power of the word, the sound, the senses of sound, the power of healing through communicating and interacting with those listening in, whether from here or any part of the world. Because up to this day, we do have people who listen in from other parts of the world using mobile applications or social media platforms. So it's just a facilitating tool between them and the radio station.
Very true. And I must add, you must host her son, Salim. He is a future star of Qatar. He's done a
Is he?
voiceover. Yeah, he's done a voiceover for a local Qatari company for Qatar for the World Environment Day, and he got the script on the spot. Like the show was today at 12 in the afternoon, and at 11 o'clock he gets the script, and he does it so well. You know, this boy is only 7 years old. He was on my
Wow.
Garangao show, and he's a wonderful kid. And I'm going to introduce you actually
How
to.
old is he?
He's 7, if I'm not
Oh
mistaken. Yeah, he's
wow.
7, and he's amazing, Salim. I call him Supersonic Salim because he loves Sonic.
I'm curious to put a face to the person you're talking about and listening
Well,
to his voice one day.
absolutely, I will connect you. I will connect you through social media. But yeah, yeah, but yeah, I like the response from both you and Khaled on how radio still holds good. It does create relationships, and that's why I have you and Khaled on board here because I'm a fan of your voices and now of your faces.
I'm
So
very humbled to hear that. Thank you.
Thank-
yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, it's so surreal because I think I'm driving a car right now and I'm listening to the radio. When I hear Huda's voice and yeah. Oh, okay. He's 6 years and 10 months. He's not yet. He's eager to be
Two
7.
months away, okay? These 2 months
Wow.
Yeah,
count, so yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's lovely.
that's
Uh,
that's super impressive. 7 years, and he's doing voiceovers and things like that. I can't
oh,
imagine, like that's incredible.
he's got a swag. This guy, you guys should meet him really. And if I can take a little pride here, Big B Meetup is about bringing communities together, especially the local and expats. And been living here for 40 years. I think it's about time I do that. So, talking of voices, Huda, which or who is the voice you loathe most? Uh, which is like, or even love?
This is by far one of the hardest questions
Oh, really?
because the voice I love most can have a couple of people that I love equally as to being the most. I do love the voice of the eternal QBS king, Elias Shaluhi. Who
Oh,
wouldn't know
oh,
Elias?
yeah,
When
yeah,
when 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 someone comes to Qatar, one of the top names that you would connect to radio was Elias, and it's not just a voice. There's wisdom, there's warmth,
yeah,
there's passion, there's empathy. He's got that whole exceptional blend. Nobody can replace that person. He's one of my top mentors, in fact.
oh, wow,
An unforgettable radio icon. And
yeah,
another voice that I love, that I've honorably got to, you know, been wishing to meet one day is George Erdahi. I'm not sure whether you're familiar. He
no,
began his profession as a radio anchor and then moved on to being a TV star. He's a Lebanese
okay,
icon in the world of media, but nobody replaces Elias. Elias is the
yeah,
top voice. Yeah.
yeah. That's good. I was going to ask you actually. Thank you for giving me two examples, one international and one local. Yeah, I have a particular favorite actually. Do you know of a particular radio jockey of Qatar who actually goes around Doha driving an antique Rolls Royce?
Bernie Lyons. Who
Yeah,
wouldn't know Bernie Lyons?
big Bernie. Yeah, absolutely. Khalid, have you got a chance to hear Bernie?
No, honestly, I haven't. Like I said, I joined QBS later, so I missed out on meeting a lot of great people. But I would have loved to, and I would have loved to. Like I've met Ilyas as well, and whenever I mention QBS, a lot of people, they share like their memories, the nostalgia they have, especially to listening to Ilyas. So I would have loved to have been there and seen QBS change and how it's evolved.
Well, you're the change now. You're going to see the
Right.
evolving of QBS now. You're the younger generation. Talking of Ilias, I had traveled my first visit to Australia down under Melbourne in the early 90s, and I heard Ilias on the radio there. My dad actually told me, I said, "Hey, this is Ilias."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Really?" Because
That's where his radio journey started,
yeah,
actually.
that's what I heard. That's what Khalid told me and I'm like, wow, that's incredible. That's amazing. So uh, kudos to Ilyas and all the other oldies, if I can call them that. I'm sure they're not listening to us today, but yeah, but yeah. So what I would say is, Khalid, what is your journey with QBS radio? Since when did you start? Of course, and I like what you speak about. What you told me about was of the voice overs that you did. What is your favorite voiceover? Very
Right.
interesting story there, because it's a lovely mix to have an RJ and then a radio news reader. Like he's prim and proper, and then Huda is, I'm not wild. I wouldn't say wild, but
Bosco, allow me to say this, with all the pride in the world. Throughout a period of a very short time, Khaled has managed to move in from one position to the other, and he's managed to succeed in every one of them, whether being an RJ, holding a segment, a news
bravo,
reporter, and soon to be news presenter. So
wow.
he's one of the kind of people we would honorably have in the station. I'm very happy to have worked with him. I've been working with him the past couple of years.
I
Fantastic.
I
And what I
really
like,
I was gonna
sorry,
say I
what I
really
like,
appreciate that, and also Huda's been a great mentor. I got to co-host and be on the morning show with her, and she's given
oh,
a lot of great advice. We've had a good time, and
that's a
we
nice thing.
joke about Tiger King and other things. And
Talking of co-hosting, that's a lovely thing that I started. Back in the day, we didn't have co-hosts. There was
yeah,
just one voice we heard. So that's a nice thing to do, actually, Huda. When you'll co-host, when you'll have a you'll have started this recently, I believe. It wasn't there before, where you.
Oh, let me tell you. Let's go way back in time to the early 2000s, I believe. There was this very popular co-host show called Hishk, where we had our music guru, Haytham Johari, with
Oh, I think.
one of our prior anchors, our former anchor, Shayma Khalil, who's left us to be a correspondent with BBC. It used to go on air on a weekly basis. They would talk about different topics. They had a lot of humor, light and fun topics. Hishk was one of the most famous live shows.
Wow. I must admit that I'm not hearing all the shows on QBS then. Yeah. Well, I remember Maria Maitri though. Maria Maitri, is she still with you guys?
Yeah. Her shows were a lot of fun. Her brother was also one of our crew members,
Yeah,
Joe Mitri, if you may recall.
I
I
know
mean,
Joe. I know Joe personally. Actually, he and his brother. Does he still do the shows for you guys? Because he's a really good DJ. Like he's a proper DJ.
he's extremely talented. His choice of music and genres is extreme. Has always been incredibly exceptional. But for a particular reason, he had to relocate to Dubai.
Yep, yep. I know that.
That's
Yep.
when he had decided to send in recorded shows on a weekly basis.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, and I believe that stopped due to the pandemic back in late
Oh,
2019 or
okay.
something. Yeah,
Okay.
but we're
Yeah.
still in touch. I mean, he's one of the biggest names. Maria Mitri as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Going back to Khalid, your story, but we didn't hear
the
your
VO.
voice that you love.
I
The
would let me just touch on the VO story.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically, my favorite one, and Huda remembers this, was the COVID robot. I got the voiceover for the COVID robot, and I'm not sure if many people remember, like around the Pearl and all over Doha, there were these robots, like telling people about the protocols, the COVID protocols, and safety restrictions, and social distancing, and masks. And there were even drones. So that was I loved that. I mean, I love my brother contacted me, I remember, and he lives out in New Zealand, and he saw a video. He saw the video of the robot, right? And he didn't know about this. He just messages me. He's like, "Is that your voice?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like that's me." And then I told my dad about it, and my dad's like, "How can I accept my son giving me commands?" Like,
That's a nice one.
I understand, but that's my son's voice. It's unacceptable. So yeah, it was just super fun, and people were sending me videos of the drone, and it felt like a science fiction movie. And bear in
Yeah.
mind, we've discussed this before. I wrote my thesis during my master's. I wrote my thesis on depictions of robots and artificial intelligence in science fiction. Um, and we can get into that if you want, but basically, I
Absolutely.
analyzed basically how in Japan they look at robots through techno optimism, as like robots they can help people, they could be nurses, they're
Yeah, I
saviors.
like
There's
that word. Can you repeat that for us? Techno optimism.
techno optimism.
That's a nice word. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's the mindset, that's the relationship people have in Japan, with robots. But a lot of Western the depictions, whether it's Hollywood, are mostly dystopian. If you think about the Terminator, uh,
Yeah,
and movies like that where robots are taking over. So it was really interesting to see how different cultures relate to robots and technology, and to eventually have my voice on a
If
robot.
all robots had your voice, Khaled, I would have loved robots since the start of
yeah.
robots around the world. I mean,
You're
you've
very
done such a great job.
Thank you.
exactly soothing voice. Yeah, you can touch upon a few points if you would like on your thesis. I'd love to know more about that, Khalid. What is what has framed, what has made you what you are now? And also very interestingly, apart from your favorite voices, I'd like to know about the podcast that you did recently. What you've been doing during the past year? You had
Mm.
some lovely guests, like Khalid, no, like. Khalifa Haroon, and then you had uh, uh, M.
Amex,
The
Ghanem
guy from,
Al-Slati, and yeah,
pardon?
Ghanem Al-Slati, who talked about veganism here in
Yeah,
Doha. And so that
yeah,
was that was basically, me, you, and guest. It was a show for QBS.
yeah,
What happened was I decided that, so we have it, obviously the audio version on air, and I decided, okay, I'll do a video version and start sharing it on social media, because, and Huda remembers this. This was at a time, during COVID, and during COVID, a lot of people were home. They were, it
yep,
was locked down. People were down, so we wanted to connect to the audience, to kind of reach people and engage with people more.
true.
So that's why I had it running on social media, and just editing the
Yeah,
videos, putting them out there, and meeting cool people. And I think that's one of as someone who's been exposed to, in a short period of time, many aspects of radio, I really love talking to people and learning from people, because every time I have a guest on there, it's an opportunity for me to learn. I'm not an
yeah,
expert on many
I
topics,
agree.
but a lot of these people are.
Yeah,
So it's a great opportunity for me to grow, for the audience to grow, to have a platform to discuss things that are important, whether it's, what you discussed on one of your episodes, which is mental health, um, things like
yeah,
that. And that was one of my favorite aspects of being on radio, is talking to people.
yeah, and you did a great job. Talking of wellness and my show, I actually started off in physical Big B meetups in 2018, as I said in the beginning. But COVID changed everything for me. Because of COVID, I've gone global. I took it to the web, the World Wide Web, and it's become a kind of a household name in the right places.
Mm,
And Big B Meetup, Huda and Khalid, is I have four pillars I theme myself on. Wellness is one, which is and I've added sports to it, sports and wellness, because sports is also a very big part of wellness. It's if you go out for a run is so healthy, because you not only sweat it out, you get all your emotions out there, and when you come back, you're pumped up, and you exude something positive. I've seen that with myself, as opposed
mm.
to just sitting in the house and brooding. I take my dog for a walk, or I go out for a little bit of a short run or a jog, and I come back and I get a shower done, and I'm like, okay, touche.
The
you know?
endorphin shooting through your body, the good hormones.
Yes, exactly,
Exactly.
exactly. That's lovely. And so that's sports and wellness. And then the other one is this ability, which I told you guys about. I play
Mm,
phonetically on the word people who are differently abled,
mhm,
and then on arts, celebrating artists. And the last one is istidama, which is so important. I wanted to have the word in Arabic. So people say, what is istidama? I said it's Arabic for sustainability, and it's so important right now.
mm.
True.
And that's what it is. So, Khalid, your voices, although we have like 25 minutes more, this is not radio time, so alatul, but still, what do you What are your favorite voices, Khaled?
Um, I mean, I grew up listening to radio in New Zealand. Um, and we have a very unique radio scene, and one of the things I like about the radio there is you could find all sorts of unique topics. I'll give you one example. Flicking through the radio, and they were interviewing a guy who is a rehabilitated arsonist. You
Oh,
know, someone who
wow.
would, yeah, who was, caught, convicted, and went to jail for burning down, public buildings and whatnot, and causing so much havoc. And they were interviewing this guy, and I loved the way the host was interviewing him, because it wasn't, bear in mind, this is someone that already went to jail and is rehabilitated, and he was on the air to raise awareness and raise awareness about mental health.
Who was interviewing him? A firefighter? Did they douse him?
That's a good one. Radio host slash firefighter.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was such an interesting, like, it was so interesting to hear that interview and to hear, that unique that unique person be given a platform. And what I'm trying to say is, I really appreciate, and I think this comes from, being exposed to the radio scene in New Zealand. I appreciate open conversations, unique conversations, giving everybody a chance. I don't believe that, radio guests should be just a specific kind. I believe, like, there should be a diversity of voices, different
Yeah,
people,
true.
experiences, people sharing bad experiences, because we can learn about that, mental health experiences, positive experiences. I really believe in the power of radio, but that obviously comes with, having diverse voices and giving people platforms.
Very true. Yeah. So you didn't tell me the voices, but your two favorite voices, or three or
Yeah, yeah.
four.
So both on radio. I mean, I've always liked Howard Stern, and I know he's a controversial radio host. Um, there's a radio host in New Zealand named Clifford. I used to enjoy Ilyas, of
Oh,
course, because
that's nice.
Ilyas. I mean, and Huda. I used to listen to them before I even knew them. Before I knew Huda, and I
Yeah.
put a face to
Oh,
her.
wow.
I would always hear her voice. Always Huda Walid on QBS. Huda Walid.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, it's so cool to, like,
So
having lived here and listen to QBS, and then eventually join the QBS team and meet these people and learn from them. It's
yeah,
so cool. It's surreal.
very true. Yeah. Khalid,
Yeah,
so you grew up in New Zealand.
yeah.
Uh,
In between New Zealand and Doha,
okay, two questions. Do you know the haka?
absolutely. I know the Hakka, and
You wanna show us?
I think I'll pass
Okay,
on
I'm
that.
missing out here. What are you guys talking about?
Okay, Khalid, you wanna tell her what the haka is?
Yeah. So the Haka is a traditional New Zealand traditional Maori a dance, and it's a
It's a war
dance that
dance.
it's a war dance. So if you ever watch the All Blacks, the rugby team, they're famous for this. Before they face off with another, with their opponents, they do the war dance, the Haka. But the
It's
Haka is they also
it's
do the Haka.
intimidating.
Very intimidating. And that's why New Zealand has the best team. Like, they start off by intimidating the opponent. But
Yeah.
but the haka is also not just a war dance. It's done to welcome people to the
Oh,
tribe. It's done during weddings, during all sorts of
wow.
celebrations. So yeah, and I also played a bit of rugby, but when I was young, but I
Wow.
didn't last, because there's a
You
lot.
you you
Yeah.
look too docile to play rugby. You're too polite.
That's why I couldn't last. I ended up in radio.
Yeah, wow. Nice. And another thing I want to say is, I want to pass on my kudos to your prime minister. I believe she should be the prime minister of the world, of the earth. Don't
She
you think?
is. Look,
I,
our prime
I,
minister.
I've broken a
Uh,
code here. I don't talk about politics, but the things she's doing in that country, in your country, is just amazing.
Look, I was back in New Zealand. I just finished my master's. when the terrible Christchurch massacre happened. And true story, I was at amusement park, just about to ride a roller coaster, nervous, just about to ride the roller coaster. And I remember opening my phone and seeing there's an attack. And I was totally numb on that roller coaster. I wasn't even phased out the roller coaster. I was just so upset about that. And I remember it was a really rough period. The next day, the atmosphere, everybody was, negatively affected. And what she did, I thought was really beautiful, and I have a lot of respect for her. Was she united the country?
Yeah.
Instead of some people might capitalize on it or blame. No, she united the country. She completely denounced this as a terrorist act, as not, aligning with New Zealand values, and she brought people together. And you can see the genuine compassion when she visits the communities. And I think that's beautiful, and that's why a lot of people, have immense respect and appreciate.
And that's not a one-off. She's backed it up during COVID, and even now with her sustainable acts and what she's doing for the country. That's really nice. I'm so sorry I don't talk about politics and religion on my program, but I always wanted to, and I got to know that you're from New Zealand as well. I wanted to say bravo to, and she's a woman. That's fantastic. Yeah. Let's move on to Huda, because we need to pay attention to beautiful Huda here too.
Absolutely.
So where do you see, Huda, where do you see the radio heading to in the next 2, 4, 5 years, in 10 years perhaps? What is your vision of radio?
Well, with the post-pandemic decade that we've entered since 2020, it's not as easy to predict as to how things can be envisioned within 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time. But hopefully, radio would still remain one of the top media platforms, whether in Qatar or anywhere around the world, because it's become extremely challenging as a radio industry to remain at the top of our game, because a main factor of getting our roles performed the way they should be is human presence and delivering facts and information and connecting to people and making sure that QBS radio is the top reference to anything that has to do with Qatar, whether it's culture, traditions, bringing all different cultures and faces and races together as one, and being the top platform to the entire world where people can connect to Qatar through our voices. That's where I hope the direction would head within the next 4 or 5 years, especially with the full focus on the world of sports and the FIFA World Cup coming up.
Well, true.
I think that'll have a huge impact on the role of media in general and QBS radio in particular.
Yeah,
very well said. Khaled, your input on that question?
I couldn't have put it better. I would definitely second that, and I would just also add like the importance of as a local radio, as a radio that represents Qatar. I think it's important to talk to the community, and that's what I try to do with my show, me, you, and guest Mug. Is talk to the community, talk to the people, talk to people running different initiatives, the entrepreneurs, the businesses, just the community, because we are a local radio, and I think that is our strength.
True. Mug was nice. You got mugged on Mug, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, whenever I'm out with my friends or and they see.
You're talking about a population of 2.7 million, and we're expecting the numbers to rise in the future. We got to meet the demands of all different audiences, whether here or abroad. So it is a responsibility that we carry with our hearts, with all the love and all the passion, and we try our best to get our roles done the way they should be.
Huda, I should say this. You have the accolade of being the first RJ on my show. I've had another person on the show from another local Hindi radio channel, but he was a station manager. He's been an RJ before, so he's left Doha since. Huda, I'd request, it's a plea. Could you pretend you're on QBS Radio and just give us your introduction, your intro? I'd love that.
Oh.
I'd love that. I'm sorry I can't pay
Well,
you for it.
the live setup is quite different. I need the headphones, the mic in front of me, the
It needs to be in
mixer,
the zone. I've seen her
place
in
with
the
Calvin Harris, but
Yeah. Oh, Calvin Harris. Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to say that. I don't know if I didn't. I purposely didn't tell you this earlier, but I wanted to just throw it at you. And I said I'll be prepared if she says no, bugger off. But yeah,
You put her on the spot. You big beat her.
yeah,
So,
big beater. Oh wow. Oh, wow. I like Khaled.
you like-
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's a nice one. Yeah. So Huda,
yeah.
because it's so surreal, just listening to you on the radio. I mean, listening to you on the radio now. If I close my eyes, I'm listening to Huda Wali, Musi Buku, guys. So I like that.
Yeah,
I've
yeah. Her
actually begin
throws
to.
in different languages when she's on air. She throws
Yeah,
in
exactly.
Spanish, French,
She's
whatever you want.
trilingual.
Yeah,
Yeah, she throws in French and then Arabic also.
and
You play.
Spanish.
Oh, really? You speak not Bella. Bella is Italian, right? Spanish is I can't remember now what's that. I need to brush up my Spanish with my cousins actually. So Huda, are you? Is it a yes or you want to pass that? I'll be polite. Okay. Oh, that's a nice one.
Hola Mundo Ora Doha. You're listening to QBS. This is Huda Wadi joining you live on 97.5 for the next 3 hours.
Wow, thank you so
Yes,
much. Great, lovely. I like that. 3 hours. Oh, wow. Okay,
I love that.
that's
I wanted
something I
to.
wanted.
Can we ask you questions?
Yeah, that's the next thing. Now that's how I went. That's how I'm going now. So now, you guys, you get the honor to be the host of Big B Meetup. So what you get to do is, Khaled and Huda, you get to ask each one of us a question, and what I only say is be polite.
Always.
Yeah, Khaled, let's go with you. Yalla.
Okay, I wanted to. Okay, let me ask you this: How do you envision? How do you envision this Big B meetup down the line? I know that it was a physical thing and it's gone virtual. Do you plan on keeping it virtual? And how do you envision it in the next coming years or in 5 years, dare I say?
Khaled, I love you for this question, really. And guys, this was not planned. He's just thrown me this question.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
this is live.
This is
I
it.
like your question, and I've been thinking about it for the past couple of months, in fact, because for me, the pandemic has actually given me an opportunity, a springboard, a catalyst for Big B Meetup. And I call it, actually, I'm going to stop calling it that. I call it the TED Talks of Qatar. But then I said, you know what? Maybe we'll be bigger than TED Talks because we have, I mean, that's just, I think that way. And during the pandemic, I actually had a program called Virtue Real. So in February for Qatar National Sports Day, I had a virtual show and a real show. We were allowed just 15 people. That's, the pandemic rules. So I went live from poolside at an international school of London, and I had 4 Qatari sportswomen as guests. And I had Ahmed Al Shahrani as the host of the show, and he moderated it for me. And we had just around 11 guests present physically, but we went virtually live on my social media platforms. So I call it Virtue Real. You get me?
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue with this. I must admit the numbers have fallen, as you know. Not everybody's twiddling their thumbs at home. Not necessarily people who twiddle their thumbs watch my program, but I want to continue with virtual Big B meetups, even post pandemic, because I believe I have a reason to keep bringing communities together. And I've hosted the former ambassador of the U.S. to Qatar and his wife,
Awesome.
sitting in Dallas or in Texas. Sorry, yeah. And then I've had another guest from Toronto to even Hamlet in the UK, in England, and they all had a connection with Qatar. Yeah, they've all had a connection with Qatar. And I've also had the first Omani woman to climb Mount Everest on my program. So I'm even bringing communities in the region, But I hope the pandemic is done with soon, because we've lost a lot of people, lost family, good friends, and but it's also teaching us lessons. This pandemic, and we got to heed to it. We got to. Yeah, I see myself going global physically also. The downside of the pandemic, I'll tell you, what happened was I was going to have a physical Big B meetup for the Year of Culture, France and Qatar in Paris or Lyon, but we couldn't because, of course, 2020 pandemic hit us. And this year, the Year of Culture, America and Qatar, I wanted to do something in New York, and with all my four teams. So I have a person who's differently abled. I have an artist. I have a wellness guru. I have a sustainability individual, and also an art expo. I've done this with Sheikh Faisal earlier this year in January, and this would be nice to show Qatar, because Qatar is not only the locals. It is the expats bring a lot of diversity to the Qatari entity.
Absolutely true.
Yeah, and it is unique. It is unique. So I wanted to showcase that as a year of culture with different nations. But next year, 2020, the World Cup, the year of the World Cup, the year of culture is global. So I'm going to do that on a global, with all nationalities, not just American or French. So let's hope next year is a wonderful year for us. That's what I see Big B Meetup heading to. So please hold our flags high. The TED Talks of Qatar, or chuck the TED Talks. It's the Big B Meetup of Qatar. That's what I want to do. Yeah, thank you, Khaled, for that question. Very kind of you. You want to ask Huda a question, or you already know everything about
her? Now, we all know it for a fact that this happens to be your 51st episode. And it brings a question to mind. I would like to know which of the past 50 episodes would remain an unforgettable one to you, and why?
Not including.
Pardon, Khaled? Yes.
Not including this one. We know this is your favorite one.
Oh wow! Thank you, Huda, because this was something I wanted to talk about. Because I've just completed 50 episodes, and you hit the nail. I have two favorite episodes of my program in my 50 episodes. And both are the Garangao shows of mine. I've grown up in Qatar, and Garangao for me it reminds me of Christmas, because we go around Christmas, singing the Jingle Bell song, and we get our treats. And I've seen that happen in Qatar during Garangao. Kids come and knock at your door. And the reason I like the Garangao show, my favorite is the Garangao show, is because I had, over the two shows, 4 wonderful children, and accompanied by their mothers. The first Garangao show in 2020, I had Qatari filmmaker, she's holidaying in Cairo right now. She's going to kill me if I can't remember her name, but she's a very famous Qatari, Hind Fakhru, yes. Hind Fakhru. She is a filmmaker of Qatar, an awardee, and with DIFF and Tribeca. She and her 2 kids, along with Sabika, who's watching it right now, with her daughter. That was my first Garangao show, and they actually sang the Garangao song on my show in 2020. And yeah, and in 2021, I had Noura's son, Supersonic Salim, and Sabika's daughter on her own, Soha. So I had 2 kids who are differently abled and very well abled on my program. So that brought tears to my eyes, and also it's etched in my memory and in my heart. So thank you, Huda, for that fantastic question. But I think it's expected from you guys, because you're QBS maestros. You'll know what to ask. Thank you so much. You all don't want to ask each other questions, I believe. So we want to move on, is it?
I don't know what to ask.
You're the host of the show, and you're taking the lead. So we're just being obedient.
That's yeah. Oh, that's so nice. Noora, she's just that's so rude of Noora actually. She's saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, Noора's just said you're not saying this just because we are on the show right now." Oh, that's so bad. These are women, I tell you, you know.
Yeah.
So let's go to the next part, which is
Mhm.
what is your most funny moment on air? Huda. Let's go with Huda. Yeah. What is your most,
Um,
I wouldn't say embarrassing, funny moment, and your most memorable moment?
well, I can recall one right now. I remember when I used to take phone calls off air whenever I'd have a couple of songs played during a live show. And I get this call from a lady saying, Huda, my husband and I had a fight. We were supposed to go to our friend's place. And we had this huge fight. I want to send him a message through your show. We've decided to go to our friend's house in different cars. So the message she wanted to deliver to her husband through the radio wasn't as good, and it was more revengeful. And I didn't want to deliver such a negative message on air, and instead try to calm her down. And by the time I put down the receiver, her husband calls. I pick up the phone and her husband goes, "Hi, Huda. I know that my wife must be listening to you right now, and I feel a sense of regret. I've done her wrong, and I don't want us to reach our friend's house unless I express my apologies. So can you please play something of your choice and let her know I'm very sorry?" That was within 5 minutes. It was extremely challenging. I had to think of a song. I had to calm her down, and I want to bring the two back together so they can have a good time. So my feelings were
Wow.
kind of complex. I'm
Wow.
I'm feeling with her and I'm feeling with him. And the only mission I had was to make them feel good about listening to the radio and not for them to have fights and have a good time together. And that's what radio does, brings people together.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I put the mic up and I can't recall their names, but I said, "Listen, my dear, I'm very I'm put in a responsible role here. I know that your husband must be one of a kind because he knows you so well to know that even though you just had an argument, you made the time to listen to the radio and talk to me, and he's trying to put me as a mediator between you and him so you guys would end the argument. He's saying he's sorry. I played a song, and guess what? They got back into one car. She pulled over and parked aside, and they went on.
Do you remember the song? Do you remember the song?
And I think they must have 10 kids by now. I never heard from them ever since. So that's it.
Oh my God. But do you remember the song you played for them?
No,
Yeah, you would. Yeah,
no,
you would.
I
That's too
don't.
much to ask. Yeah. And what is your favorite? This is a question for both of you all, actually. What is your favorite music genre that you play? I know, Huda, you have a wide variety, actually, and that's one of your USPs, actually. You can play French, Arabic, English. What other music do you? I mean,
I
you've got.
favor a lot of genres. It mainly depends on where I am, who I'm with, what's going on around the world, what blended emotions I have inside of me. But um, one of the few genres that just trigger me and get me moved is deep house. I just
Oh
love EDM.
Nice.
Yes.
my God! You-
Anybody who knows me well knows that for a fact.
Mhm.
Um, I do love power ballads.
Wow, that's more like Huda, I know, because deep house, and I'm like Huda. Wow, like you just imagine, because I hail from a place called Goa in India, and deep house and psychedelic, and I mean there are
You guys
good things
have
in Goa.
beautiful beaches, right?
Pardon?
You're famous for your beaches.
Yeah, beautiful beaches, and it's a very eclectic place. Actually, yes, it is. It is. Yeah, but see, that's the thing. The genres that Huda enjoy. I mean, and have nobody else. I mean, deep house. Wow, and then power ballads. Power ballads is something really. It is very powerful, and you played
And I
them.
owe it to our music master, Haytham Johari, for getting to gradually love indie and indie pop.
Oh, nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Recently. Yeah.
Uh, I love indie music, and I mean, Huda knows, like, me and Haytham, or Hey Jay as we call him, we bond over, and I've discovered a lot of new music through him. So that's, or
Nice.
should I say old music, but it was new to me.
Yeah, old
Uh,
school is cool,
Old
you
school
know?
is definitely cool. I mean,
Yeah,
there's something
true.
Yeah,
about it.
Absolutely.
yeah.
You
Like
should
I
see
like
Huda. You
rock.
should see Huda when she blasts the music in the studio, and she sometimes Huda, and like this is during the morning. You know what I mean? She'll blast the music, and she'll just get in the zone, and she'll pump everybody's energy. You know, even if you haven't had
Yeah,
your coffee yet or anything, she'll just pump everyone's energy, and I love that about Huda.
And
lovely. Yeah,
Khaled comes in for his segment, and if I haven't had my caffeine dose yet, whatever we talk about would boost me with the energy. So it'd be more of an alternative to that cup of coffee if I don't
Yeah.
get that cup of coffee in the
I'm,
morning.
I'm talking of coffee. I'm definitely coming in with my cup of tea. I make some lovely Indian chai with if you like it with some cinnamon sticks and fresh milk. I make a lovely cup of tea. That's all I can do in the kitchen.
Is it
So
more of a healthy cup of karak?
no,
No.
yeah, it's low fat. I mean, I'm using full cream fat now, but it's not really healthy. Too much of tea is not really good. But I'm definitely coming in and it, being an art, I always, not always actually, since I've been on the radio, on other radio channels as well, and somebody told me I have a good radio voice. I'm like, maybe I should give it a shot, but not really a shot. But I'm definitely going to come in and meet up with you guys. In my 40 years, I've never been to the QBS radio hub. I've been to the radio station because I was live on the Urdu channel a couple of months ago,
Yeah.
and I think you all shared that the studio with them because you all are in the
We
midst of
actually share the same building, and I'm quite astonished to know that you came and we never got the chance to see you in person.
yeah, it was a COVID covert operation.
I understand.
Yeah, and yeah, but definitely come in, and I'm gonna come in with my flask. Yeah, so let's hope they don't take me to task at the gates. But I'm definitely coming in and meeting with Huda and Khalid. And another lovely, you have another Mariam, or there's another nice RJ you'll had or have. Sorry,
We actually have
My,
plenty. I mean, the list
Mayasa,
is endless.
Mayasa.
Mayasa is my actual sister.
Really?
Plot twist.
Yes.
Hang on.
Mayasa's the youngest sister in the family.
Mayasa, who does the? She's got on Instagram, on social media. She does the.
Yes, yes, the mother of the lovely Adam. That's my
Are
sister.
you serious? Wow, this is a,
Oh yes,
a surprise.
I am.
So no, I'm so,
She's been devoting her time for the past couple of years to raising Adam before going back to the radio.
Mm.
oh,
Um, she's actually pursued her degree in media and journalism and does have an extreme passion that has turned into a profession that she can make profit from. But due to pregnancy and raising Adam, her top priority was motherhood and taking care of Adam. So she hasn't been on the radio for quite a
oh.
while.
She's been my first point of contact through social media. That's how I even connected with you yourself and Khalid, because she's
What a
told me.
small world,
Yeah,
Bosco.
is she? Wasn't she? No, but I want to get it right because I'm a bit confused actually.
Okay.
Mayasa is on social media. She does the programs with the creams and stuff like that. She's
Yes,
okay.
she's the
Yeah.
media face for Lush.
Okay.
She's
Yeah.
more into makeup trends and how to
Yes.
take care of your hair.
Your
Yes,
sister, lovely. This is Khalid. Is your brother or sister on air too?
No, maybe down the line.
Okay. Okay.
My,
Lovely.
my my brother's gone through a different route.
Oh, nice. That's nice. Uh, Khalid, what about your funny moment on radio? Did you make a couple of mistakes, or you have anything to talk about on? Because news reading, is not easy. You gotta cross your T's, bite your
Yeah.
eyes.
I mean, I can't think of anything funny. I mean, we have when we're not on air, we have a good time behind the scenes, and we catch up and talk. Mistakes, of course, they happen, especially when I first started out. I mean, still happens, you know what I mean? Mistakes do happen. Um, but it's no big deal, you know, you can't let them, can't let them get to you. Um, Other than that, I can't really think of I can't think of a funny moment. I can think of an interesting story. I recently did. I reported on Millipol, which was the defense conference, and I
Yeah.
was going there to interview people and things like that. And it was so cool because I got to meet somebody who was a former FBI agent, uh, who's out here, training the police and the, intelligence and
Say no
man,
more.
yeah, I interviewed him, for maybe 10 minutes, but we ended up talking for over 2 hours. Because as you can imagine, I had so many questions and I'd
Yeah.
ask him, oh yeah, is it like the movies and what was this like? And so that was a cool experience. And I think that's something that happened because of QBS and because of being in the recently, like I said, I'm in the news department and focusing on reporting.
Yeah.
And there aren't a lot of events now. Most things are virtual because of COVID.
True.
But when there is a conference and there's an opportunity to go out, like when I went to Agritech, which was the agriculture conference, they actually brought cows into the exhibition center,
Fantastic. That's a nice thing.
which was really cool.
Yeah, it
So yeah,
is. It's a very nice thing to do actually because you feel the field. It's easy to actually look at something, but when you get to see it in actuality, it's even better. People can understand the pains that the bovine creatures go through.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
guys, it was a pleasure to have you guys on board, and I'm not. I would love to rehost you all again in the future on other platforms on other programs,
Mm,
but I'd like to mix it with radio and perhaps TV personalities,
mm.
so we get a mix of broadcasting as well as radio and broadcasting. What do you think, Huda and Khalid?
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea. I mean, I love this whole conversation, and I love that there's a uniqueness to Big Me Meetup. You have that casual kind of vibe. It's positive. It's about uplifting people, and
Yeah,
I really believe in that. And I like that you're doing that. So I'd
thank
love
you
to be
so
on the
much.
show. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been.
Bosco, when it comes to interviews, I usually feel a little bit reluctant or hesitant when the questions aren't prepared ahead of time or not having an idea what topics or bullet points we brought up. But with you, it's been an exceptional experience. I feel like we're chatting over a cup of coffee, and I hope it happens. I mean, looking at the bright side, I hope that the numbers decline, and one day you can honorably pay us a visit at our studios where the three of us can actually sit together, have a cup of coffee, and talk about and catch up on everything since um, this 51st episode. So
Yeah,
I'd like to thank you so much for giving us the
yeah.
time and the
Hang on.
chance to speak on the Big B meetup.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
Huda, I have a question for you guys from Noora, uh,
Yeah.
Sonic's mom. I'm forgetting Salem now. I call him Sonic. With the new technology and having everything on smartphone, podcasts made it easy for everyone to be a presenter or a host for shows. Do you think it could be a threat for the lifespan of radio, especially with the new generation? Nice question,
It
Noora.
is. And I believe like we discussed it earlier
Yeah,
when I,
you did.
when I
Yeah.
was saying like it's a really good question, but I feel like radio is its own thing, and I don't really have that mentality of look. I enjoy podcasts. Okay, I listen to podcasts. I enjoy podcasts, and podcasts have their strength and their weakness. The thing with radio is it's live. It has that real time live
Yeah.
element. Uh, where you're connecting. You have that
Drive
connect.
time.
Yeah, that exactly, and you're connecting with the host, and there's just something about it. And then podcasts are convenient because if there's a certain topic you want to listen to, you can switch it on whenever you want. So I don't really believe in like one thing threatening another. I believe like there's spaces for everything, and like every medium can thrive and every medium has its place.
True. there can be synergy also. You wouldn't believe this, but one of my favorite RJs from Dubai, called DJ Mo. He's retired now. He's a lovely DJ. He's a Jordanian, and I used to play. I mean, I used to send him messages on Facebook for requests for songs to be played for my brother who lives in Dubai.
Mm.
So Facebook, and he's playing it live for me there. Yeah. So that was very interesting. Huda, would you like to answer that question too for Noora? Do you have anything to say?
Now, we can't deny the fact that social media platforms and the use of technology and websites and podcasts has given everybody an easier access to people who would like to become hosts or presenters or RJs or DJs or whatever it is. But the habit of connecting to radio and the people behind the microphone, whether it was real time or pre-recorded, is a whole different experience in itself. And I mean, you set a good example of that. You have decided to dedicate your 51st episode to two of the hosts from the radio simply because of the nostalgia and all the good feelings you got from previous hosts and from a good habit like listening to the radio. So this is passed on for generations to come. It's good that there are other alternatives out there and applications and podcasts and so on and so forth, but radio can never be replaced. It comes at the top.
Well said, well said. Yeah. And on that note, I'd love for each of you all to give your message of love and peace to all our audience, and yeah, and with a goodbye, of course. So, Huda, would you love to start with your message of love and peace?
I hope we'd come to a world where the power of love would overweigh the love of power. I hope that one day we would live on a planet where we unify with our differences, respect them, and live in peace and harmony, despite of our backgrounds, races, and wherever we come from. I do hope that this happens one day. I wish everybody listening and watching us all the best. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Bosco, and I hope we get to reunite with another Big B meetup someday, somehow, not knowing where we might be.
Yeah,
Thank you both,
I
Khaled
like that.
and Bosco.
Thank you, Huda.
Thank you. I mean, I couldn't have said it. This is what happens when you let Huda talk before me. I couldn't
Okay, I'll remember
have
that.
said it any better. I mean, definitely, I would ideally love to live in a world where, you know, our differences aren't things that pull us apart, but bring us together. And I think it's also important for people to do internal work, work on themselves, and also kind of address these things, because it starts with the individual, right? It starts with the person.
Yeah.
Too often, we're busy looking at other people or blaming other things. But, from my experiences, and this is something I'm still doing, sometimes it's really important to, look at yourself in the mirror, address your flaws, and by focusing on yourself, that ripples out to your family members, to your community. And if everybody did that, I think we'd be in a much better place. And also, once again, thanks for everybody who tuned in. And thanks to Big B and Huda. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thank you. And I just recollected, Huda, I was actually wanting to, actually, I've told Mayasa that I would be hosting her as well, but this is like months ago, maybe last year. So I'm happy I have a big sister on here. That's lovely. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And it was a pleasure to have to put a face to the name, Huda and Khaled. And of course, we'll continue listening to QBS. Keep it locked to 97.5, guys. The number one radio station in the Gulf.
You know it.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you, Bosco. Thank you.
Thank you.
yeah, and shukran jazeelan, everybody. Noora, was it right? Shukran jazeelan, right? Yeah, she was correcting my
Shukran
Arabic.
jazilan. Well said. Yes.
Yeah, she was correcting me. And have a pleasant evening and a great week, guys. And see you next week for our School is Cool episode.